Welcome in, Game Time Decisions right here on SportsGrid. I'm your host, Kevin Walsh. We've got 2 hours to go through it all, and there is a lot to go through. Wild Card Weekend is buttoned up. We have an NBA slate and college basketball slate worthy of our attention. We're already involved on the college slate. Not a great start with the Florida Gators at Tennessee as the Vols are up 12 at the break there, but catching 10.5. Gators need to bounce back here in the second half. We'll see if they can do that. Like the college card tonight, NBA card, some frustration personally, but we'll get to that when the time comes. Let's just start here on this Tuesday night with the Wild Card Weekend and the results from these 6 games. Home teams dominating, except for, and I know many have pointed this out, the 8-0 Dallas Cowboys, the only home team to lose on Wild Card Weekend. The only team to win but not cover, that would be the Detroit Lions. And the totals were more varying here, and over in Houston, and over in Green Bay, and an over here in Buffalo. But 3 unders, Tampa Bay, due to the Eagles only scoring 9. The Lions-Rams game at one point, I believe the total is high in the 70s, ended up going under the pregame number that was somewhere in the low 50s, depending on when you bought it. And then we had an under here due to the Miami Dolphins' disastrous offensive performance in the cold weather in Kansas City. So the bracket is advanced on. Some of the takeaways from that wild card weekend that we'll have some time to dive into. Has Nick Sirianni coached his last game with the Philadelphia Eagles? What does the future hold for Mike Tomlin? Some odd conversations starting out of nowhere that maybe he goes to Sean Payton, take a year off route, find a new team route, which would be a massive shock, I think, to Pittsburgh and that organization. We bring in our radio audience. Excited to have you with us here on a Tuesday night. Kevin Walsh hosting Game Time Decisions for you across the SportsGrid network. As far as the other teams that have exited, the LA Rams will, I don't know, are they going to do the whole everyone's going to retire song and dance? Maybe Cooper Kupp can get in the mix. He didn't finish the season strong. McVay, Stafford, Donald, though, all to varying degrees, seemingly flirted with it last offseason. If not, people will be excited about their bounce back. The Cleveland Browns, with the way Flacco ended it, should have no issue turning the baton back towards Deshaun Watson next season. The Dolphins have already come out saying they want to extend it to Tagovailoa. I think that's a massive mistake, doubling down on an already mistake. That is Tua being this team's franchise quarterback. And a lot of big questions with the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott contract-wise, I don't see he'll be moved on from. Mike McCarthy, possibly. Dan Quinn could very well be finding a job in Seattle as their head coach. Some change coming, no doubt. But here's your updated bracket. The 1 and the 4 for the Baltimore Ravens, as the Ravens will be hosting the Texans, and the Bills a 2.5-point favorite against Kansas City. This number now climbing to 9.5 for Baltimore against the Houston Texans, which is the same number you're seeing on the NFC side of it here. San Francisco lays that to Green Bay. Detroit gets the gift, expecting to go to Dallas, now host Tampa Bay, and they'll host Tampa Bay at the moment as a 6.5-point favorite, a considerable change from being a dog in Dallas, or even hypothetical lines that had the Lions laying only 2.5 to the Philadelphia Eagles. Things from an odds perspective have broke right for Detroit. We'll see if they're able to capitalize hosting Baker and the Bucs. You look at the updated Super Bowl odds, and what a week it was for the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners didn't play a game, and their number continued to grow shorter and shorter, down to plus 175 as they get a lot of breaks. Dallas and Philly being removed, 2 teams that spent a lot of this season viewed as the only that could potentially threaten San Fran. Those were the second and third options to win the conference. Philadelphia was in front of Detroit the entire way, so both of those teams being removed, as well as an LA Rams team that was getting a lot of love in the market. The Niners price, again, down to plus 175. Baltimore, 270. Bills, plus 490. You see you could still get some long shot numbers here. 30-1 prices on that outside group there. All decent-sized dogs heading into Super Bowl weekend. Want to get over, take a look at the NBA card. It is a light night tonight in the NBA, which is why I have some of my frustrations. And I don't want to belabor this point too much when we go through the card. At the moment, I don't have an NBA bet in. There's a lot of people out there that are bothered with the NBA and have been bothered with the NBA for a while due to the lack of availability to their superstars. So the NBA had this brilliant idea of a 65-game minimum. If you don't meet it, you can't win league MVP, you can't make All-NBA. Said at the time the rule was going to do absolutely nothing other than water down the All-NBA teams. Well, guess what? Joel Embiid has been the best player in the league and is 5th, 6th to win league MVP because he's not going to meet the games requirement. Joel Embiid is literally going to be the favorite to win this award, but not meet the games requirement. The NBA thought they were fixing something. The NBA doesn't acknowledge the main problem they have is back-to-backs. So much so that on a 3-game slate, they book Sixers-Nuggets, should be one of the most premier matchups the NBA can offer, with Embiid and Jokic back-to-back, the last 2 players to win league MVP at the same position. They book it on the second leg of a Philly back-to-back. They are asking for these problems themselves. And then us, as the bettors, check in, open up the injury report. The entire Denver Nuggets team is questionable. What are we supposed to do with this? What are we supposed to do? And I know constantly people zone in on the players, and it is their fault, and I get it. They are not blameless in this situation. But they have made it very clear there are a lot of top guys that aren't healthy. That's the reality. And the NBA went, oh, you know what we'll do? We'll now have Rudy Gobert make All-NBA instead of Joel Embiid. Excellent job from the association. Thunder catching a bunch from the Clippers. Why? Second leg of it back-to-back. Clown Show League, Sacramento and Phoenix. I'm getting really frustrated. Can't lie to you with the NBA right now, despite it holding a dear place in my heart. College hoops tonight luckily steps up for us with a bunch of top 25 action here. Purdue catching points. Laying a points in Indiana, but the in-state battle, a lot of intrigue I've seen out there on the Hoosiers. Kansas needs to step up here against Oklahoma State. Take advantage, Big 12 regular season. This could be important here with Houston dropping consecutive games in conference. Kansas State laying a slight number to ranked 9. Baylor, Penn State, and Wisconsin. And then a little ranked action here between BYU and Iowa State. There's already ranked Tennessee in action. The SEC tonight in general, quite interesting to me. Alabama laying a huge number to Missouri. We'll talk about them in a moment. But let's go to this Kansas-Oklahoma State game here for a quick pick. DeJuan Harris, the veteran star point guard for the Jayhawks, has now hit a bumpy road in his last 2 games, failing to score 8 points. Prior to that, had done it in 5 out of 6. If you look at the last 2 opponents, UCF, Central Florida, and Oklahoma, pair of top 25 defenses, and they were able to limit his efficiency in the game. But for DeJuan Harris tonight, Oklahoma State ranks outside of the top 75 in defensive efficiency. Plus, DeJuan Harris, you get into conference play, 38, 39, 40 minutes can be the expectation. Enough workload. He'll get over this number here tonight for us. We'll go through the full college card next.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices. And we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run, run, run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
Right now, we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
San Francisco minus 120 to win the NFC Championship. It's the Cowboys with the second best number. The Eagles at 7-1.
What the hell's the difference between the 6th and the 7th seed? I need my guys healthy here to make a playoff push. They took the bye week and still won the football game. You want to talk about 2 franchises going in the wrong directions? The Eagles, ridiculous what they did this week.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of fun to do because you could kind of, place a season-long bet all at once and just wait it out. I've always found that interesting. But New York is one state where it's a little bit unclear.
You cannot bet on basically anything that requires a vote. So you're talking about an MVP award, Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, anything where people at the end of the year have to vote.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
And I tell you what, there's 1,000,001 coaching vacancies right now. Brady Cannon is a candidate for the Vegas Raider job. Like there's so many jobs available right now. NFL teams are coming to the grid for our talent. So there's that many head coaching spots available right now. I'm going to submit my resume.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Back here on SportsGrid, I'm Kevin Walsh with you on a Tuesday night. Game Time Decisions made a pregame decision on Florida that at the moment is not going as I was hoping. They're playing from behind here, a 10.5-point favorite before the game started, now catching 14.5. The total at 154.5 live is a little bit south of where it probably closed pregame, 159.5. 160.5. We'll keep eyes on this game here because the Gators are this game's going to have to get up to like 20 to feel that there's not a chance for them to kind of come in through the back door, even if that's what it comes down to. So we'll keep eyes on that. I mentioned my frustrations with the NBA, and again, it's probably more than anybody else cares about there. I just, this time of the year, NFL season ends, NBA's trying to step up. 3-game slate, 2 games on national TV, and half the teams are playing on the second leg of a back-to-back. The Clippers aren't 6.5 points better than the Thunder, but this is the type of number you get and this is just what the NBA just refuses to acknowledge with their league. It's frustrating, I would say, for Sixers Nuggets, and we'll talk with Coach in a little bit. Jokic points plus assists would be something I would put eyeballs on. It is admittedly more narrative than trend, but at 33.5, Jokic in a game like this against Embiid, where Embiid has all these huge numbers, right, that we're used to seeing him deal with. I think it could be a different scenario for Jokic with his just normal numbers, 25.5 points, 9.5 assists. He could step up, rise to the occasion here in this matchup, and that's something I'd keep my eye on. But let's go through the college game tonight. One guy I'm looking to step up, that's Khalil Ware. And Khalil Ware, for those who aren't familiar, one of, if not the best big men in this upcoming NBA draft class, plays for Indiana, and is going to go head-to-head tonight against Zach Edey. And Khalil Ware needs this. We talk draft stock, and those are the type of things that could certainly factor in. I like that little extra motivational boost that could be there for the 7-footer that plays for Indiana. But it also just it comes down to the spot. So if you look on the season, Indiana has played what I would consider 3 elite opponents in UConn, Auburn, and Kansas. And in those games, Khalil Ware is averaging 11.7 points per game. Now, that's obviously under the 13.5. He is shooting 23.3% from the field in those games. That tells me volume is there. To get to nearly 12 a night while shooting 23%, if Khalil Ware can have his way with Zach Edey on the offensive side, which he can, then he could break out for a big game tonight here. We're talking 20-plus points because the efficiency for Ware has gotten better as Big Ten play has started. In conference, we're seeing him average 14.8 points per game. on 59% shooting. And the Big Ten does have teams that rank good defensively. Rutgers and Maryland, teams that Ware has played, rank higher on the defensive efficiency side of it from KenPom than Purdue does. Right? That is also true of both Auburn and Kansas. UConn does rank further down than Purdue, but also UConn's numbers have been dropping since the Klingon absence there. And that's another little boost for Khalil Ware. Well, I know he struggled against UConn, but Klingon gave him a look, right? And Khalil Ware got a look at playing a guy 7'4" already this season. At home tonight here, I really believe that he has a great opportunity to bounce back in an elite spot here. He's had a nice game against Minnesota last time out. I think you're going to see Khalil Ware really step up here against Purdue and get through that 13.5. It's my favorite bet on tonight's card. I'm also, we mentioned the DeJuan Harris. Again, if you look, he's hit this in 5 out of 6 before missing it in 2 consecutive. The 2 teams he went up against were 17 and 21 on defensive efficiency. Oklahoma State at 76. It's respectable, but not good enough. And again, 5 out of 6 prior to that, playing, over 38 minutes a game. Now that this team's entering elite competition on a nightly basis, the Big 12 is a grind. I think DeJuan Harris can get there. It is expensive at minus 145. So you got to figure out how exactly you want to attack it, what kind of unit you want to throw on it. But I think it is worth it. The 8.5 was plus 100. He's landed 8 multiple times in that 6-game window that I'm talking about there. So I wanted to buy myself a little bit of security. I thought it was worth it playing that 8+ market, which is available on DraftKings. There's a great side spot tonight on Arkansas at plus 3.5. I understand the Razorbacks have looked lifeless in their most recent outings, and that is an absolute fair description of what we've seen from the Arkansas Razorbacks. But Muss is still one of, I think, the best coaches in college basketball, or at the minimum deserves a bit of credit relative to what this line is suggesting here. Texas A&M is 1-2 in SEC play. Just grabbed their first victory against Kentucky. They were 3.5-point favorite in the game. Got the job done by 5 in overtime, 97-92. But we're 0-2 prior to that. An 11-point loss to Auburn and a 15-point rout somehow at the hands of LSU. A&M was home for that game. Now, again, the Razorbacks and what they've done so far in SEC play has been tragic. Lost by 22 to Florida, 10 to Georgia, and 32 points to Auburn. But that Auburn loss is the only time we've seen this team lose at home. The last time we saw Arkansas slumping a little bit, they hosted Duke and beat Duke outright at home. And I think A&M is not as good as the Duke Blue Devils. I think many would agree with that. And at minimum, I think the market would agree with that. So for this spot here tonight, to be 3.5 with A&M, which I think is more than Duke actually laid in that early season game. Again, I know this is a 9-7 Arkansas team playing their worst ball of the season, but we talk bounce back spots all the time on this show. And usually in the props market, the guy's been, he's had a couple of games where he's not been shooting it well, rebounding it well. In the NFL, the efficiency's dropped here, rushing totals, and all of that's real. But they're true for sides. And teams bounce back. And this has been a college basketball season defined by the inability for road teams to get the job done, favorites or not. I mean, there's going to be people tonight who line it up straight like this. Indiana plus the points. Lay it with Cincinnati. Lay it with Kansas State. Grab Oklahoma State plus the points. Grab Penn State plus the points. That's what teams are going to do. Or bettors are going to be doing tonight. New Mexico favored over Utah State. Arkansas is no different. They're just not top 25. But I think this is a great spot for them. And another bounce back spot for me, and I'm taking a chance here on a kid that I like in Grant Nelson for Alabama. I like this Crimson Tide team. At the top of the hour, I want to talk a little bit about national title odds and where some things sit. KenPom continues to believe that Alabama is one of the very best teams in all of college basketball. 11-5, currently 3-0 in SEC play. They are not ranked. They're not ranked because they lost to all of the best teams that they had to play. Right? The Ohio State loss on the road, Purdue by 6, Creighton on the road by 3, Arizona pulled away from them by 13. But none of those games were played in favorable locations. Right, I think they went to Canada, right back where Zach Edey is from. For that game, they were literally at Creighton. They went to Phoenix to play Arizona. They weren't getting favorable draws, the Crimson Tide. And there's a reason why this now top-ranked offensive efficiency team gets all this love from KenPom. Now, they are laying a big number tonight against Missouri. Maybe a touch too big. 14.5. Mizzou was just catching 11.5 at Rupp. But KenPom and some of the metric sites do actually believe that Alabama is better than Kentucky. But if that's going to be true, then Grant Nelson needs to step up. The mid-major grad coming from North Dakota State has not been able to find a rhythm yet in SEC play, and in fact, that's putting it very generously. So far in SEC play, 9 points, 0 points, 9 points. That's not going to get the job done, but if Bama is going to get to, again, where the metrics believe they can, then Grant Nelson is going to need to step up. And at 12.5 tonight, against a Missouri defense that barely cracks the top 150 in college basketball, I think this is a spot after a great road win at Mississippi State. Nate Oates tonight should make sure that Grant Nelson steps up here and gets over the 12.5. Quick and potential final check-in. Vols up 20, running Florida out of the gym 57-37. We'll be right back, Sports Grid, as we continue our breakdown of Tuesday's action.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run, run, run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I don't care if they win because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
San Francisco minus 120 to win the NFC Championship. It's the Cowboys with the second best number. The Eagles at 7-1.
What the hell's the difference between the 6 and the 7 seed? I need my guys healthy here to make a playoff push. They took the bye week and still won the football game. You want to talk about two franchises going in the wrong direction? The Eagles. Ridiculous what they did this week.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
It's a lot of fun to do because you could kind of, place a season-long bet all at once and just wait it out. I've always found that interesting. But New York is one state where it's a little bit unclear.
You cannot bet on basically anything that requires a vote. So you're talking about an MVP award, Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, anything where people at the end of the year have to vote.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
And I tell you what, there's 1,000,001 coaching vacancies right now. Brady Cannon is a candidate for the Vegas Raider job. Like there's so many jobs available right now. NFL teams are coming to the grid for our talent. So there's that many head coaching spots available right now. I'm going to submit my resume.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
All right, we're in the mix with you on a Tuesday night. Kevin Walsh now joined by Tom Vecchio. Tom, how you feeling?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. 3 good NBA games tonight. It's like one of those slates where we actually have like 3 awesome games. Some NHL action, big weekend of NFL coming up. I am ready to go.
Let's start then on the ice, though, because I know there's a couple of spots that you're looking to get involved with here, including a player from Toronto. Talk to us about your angle.
That's William Nylander for goal. It's at plus 155, and immediately the number jumps out at me where it's like plus 155 earlier in the year. He's at like plus 110, plus 120. Like the example that I would use is like, Mike Evans this weekend is like plus 105 or plus 110 for a touchdown. If we saw Mike Evans at plus 150, just objectively, we want that number. So William Nylander's got 21 goals on the season. It's kind of slowed down a little bit as of late. Over his last 6 games, he has 2 goals, but they both came in 1 game. In the other 5 games, he has 23 shots on goal. So he's constantly firing the puck. He just signed a massive 8-year, $92 million deal. Going up against the Oilers, it's a 6.5 over-under. Since the start of January, both teams are in the top 7 of the league for total shot attempts created and top 4 of the league for high danger chances. So these teams are going to score tonight, and the number is just too good at plus 155.
Well, and I definitely, I love the mention, though, kind of where that total is. Any Edmonton game, this has been going on. Again, even for someone like myself, I'm well aware that Edmonton totals are always expected to be high scoring, 6.5 minus 160. So I'm sure there are flat 7s out there and available. And then you're also looking for some action tonight in this game between Calgary and Arizona.
Yeah, Clayton Keller for Arizona. I was going to send Joe Oliver Bjorkstrand just because I wanted you to try and pronounce that name. But I wanted Clayton Keller a little bit easier for Arizona. 2.5 shots on goal going up against the Flames. Flames, they're allowing 60 shot attempts per 60 minutes in 5v5 situations. That's the 13th worst in the league for the entire year. But since the start of January, that's actually increased to 70. So teams go through these ups and downs, and I want to jump on a team that's on a downswing right now, and I'll simply take Arizona's best player at Clayton Keller over 2.5 minus 102.
I would just let you know, you can throw any name you want at Joe/myself, and if I don't, I will either butcher it proudly or just avoid it and find a way to step around it. So don't hide any plays from us because the name looks a bit daunting. Let's go to this NBA slate tonight. I'm actually bothered by this slate, mainly because we have 2 national TV games and 50% of the teams are coming on the second leg of back-to-backs. It's just why the NBA doesn't admit their biggest problem is totally beyond me. The second national TV game you're involved in, Clippers Thunder, LA's laying 6.5, total 237.5.
Yeah, really like the potential pace for this game, the potential scoring. Clippers are 26th in the league in pace. They've been playing, obviously, solid ball, as everyone's kind of noticed since December. OKC's up at 8th in the league in pace, so I think we're going to see some scoring. More importantly, Ivica Zubac is out tonight for the Clippers, which means that Daniel Tice is going to get the start at center, and Mason Plumlee is probably going to have to see some minutes tonight, and I don't think that's a good thing for the Clippers. But that means Kawhi, I think he's going to have to do a little bit more. So I like him over 39.5 PRA, and I think those rebounds are really going to shine tonight just because they're a little bit thin, and he's going to have to do just a little bit more. We know he's going to get his 18, 19 field goal attempts. He's going to do that normal thing, a couple shots from downtown. He's going to be distributing the ball here or there. But I think the rebounds are actually really going to shine tonight. So 25 or so points, give or take, pushing towards 30. He can chip in 9 rebounds, 6 assists. Going to be a solid game from Kawhi.
And you're right, Kawhi has been playing good ball. Tom, I know you're no stranger to the futures market. I upset some people that work here, actually, throughout last week because they're angry that when it comes to breaking down Clippers futures, I say, okay, but you every time say, well, if they stay healthy, they're not going to stay healthy. So when they don't stay healthy, you can't complain that you would have won the bet if they did because you knew going into it they wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, that's a reasonable thing to say. We've said that about so many teams or players throughout the years. It's like, I talked about Shohei Ohtani, under on strikeouts last season, the start of last season, if he stays healthy because of his arm, and he didn't. And it's obviously a risky bet to take in some capacity. But if the Clippers don't stay healthy, then obviously, like you said, the bet is dead, and you knew that going in. So I'm fine with that.
I don't know where you land on the Clippers. It's just he has finished one season and it was the pandemic season. It's the only one he's finished.
I just don't know.
And lead to Denver totally embarrass themselves.
Right. I don't. Even if they are fully healthy, like I understand you can make the argument, but I would still take Denver ahead of them. And depending on how Phoenix shapes up for the end of the season, I think Phoenix obviously can run.
Yeah. Well, and again, Phoenix, another classic will they stay healthy team who plays Sacramento tonight. And I know you're on a player prop in that game from the Sacramento side.
Yeah, really like Keegan Murray. Now, he's officially listed as questionable, so we don't know if he's going to play just yet, but his line for threes is still 2.5, and it's plus 106. And as we all know, Murray's an awesome three-point shooter, set the NBA rookie record last season for threes made. He has 3 or more in 4 of his last 5 games, full games, I should say. He only played like 7 or 9 minutes, whatever was the most recent game left early. I'm not counting that. But he's firing the ball, 8, 9 attempts from downtown. This game has a massive over-under, going to be plenty of scoring. And it's plus money at over 2.5 threes. And Phoenix, they are kind of struggling from downtown in this recent, or defensively from downtown in this recent stretch of games. So like a 243 over under, I'll take the over.
Yeah. That is, it's not a bad look. Not a bad look. Again, classic questionable tag. I love the NBA. I'm in a bad mood about it tonight, though, Tom. So I'm going to try and move off of it. I want to ask you about some NFL stuff. So FanDuel has done an incredible job getting open the playoff specials market pretty quickly here since the dust has settled. And there were 2 markets that I was so excited to see, and it's completely delivered from the intrigue angle. And that is the most playoff rushing touchdowns and most playoff receiving touchdowns. We'll start with rushing. Aaron Jones ran 3 in and is plus 105 to lead the postseason in rushing touchdowns. McCaffrey hasn't played yet. He's plus 440. Montgomery, Josh Allen, Pacheco, Gibbs are the next 5. All did run in a touchdown there. What do you think about Aaron Jones, a 9.5-point dog this weekend, being the favorite in that market?
Yeah, that's not something I like because, I mean, he has the lead, which is obviously why he's there, and it's the lead by multiple. But you got to think of, like I said last week, like the path to get to that spot would be high. I guess, I mean, theoretically, he could win and be eliminated this week. Like, that's also a possibility if no one else scores 3. So I don't know. I want players that are going to be in the mix in the final few games, and whether it's the championship or the Super Bowl. So McCaffrey makes the most sense, but Montgomery is probably the most interesting.
Okay, with, of course, their status as favorites. I think, so Aaron Jones, I think at the moment, right, on FanDuel is plus 115 for any time. Now, he could catch it, but obviously the expectation going into that bet is it would be a rushing touchdown. If I told you that he runs one in, win or lose, would that be enough to make it worth your time then? To think that he's going to get out of here with 4 rushing touchdowns? Just a one-season sample size of last year. Jalen Hurts led the way with 5. Nobody else had more than 2.
No, because I think I think the Bills can win this week, and Allen could easily have 2. So that puts him at 3, right? That would put him at 3. Jones in this situation, hypothetical situation, Jones would have 4. Allen has one more game to play, then he'd be tied. So that's where we're working. And then if Allen advances, him scoring another time wouldn't be a shock. So the odds are just way, way too low for me to be even remotely interested in Aaron Jones.
Okay. What about most playoff receiving touchdowns? Jake Ferguson is the favorite at plus 210. He's already eliminated. He's the favorite at plus 210. 9-1 Laporta, 9-1 Ayuk, hasn't played a game. Rashee Rice, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 10-1. 12-1 Kittle, 14-1 Nico Collins, 18 on Diggs, Kincaid, and Debo.
I mean, Debo's interesting. We spoke about him in that, but I would Godwin caught one at the end of the game yesterday. Laporta scares me because he's not fully healthy. You know, my hot take would be Mark Andrews. Activated off of IR. They can win this week. They go into the championship. Huge performance in the Super Bowl. If he's listed there, Mark Andrews in like
he's not even listed.
This redemption arc for the Ravens, dealing with a million injuries as they do every year, come through and win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, look, so they actually aren't even listening, which is funny. I'm wondering if Laporta's just the answer, though. He already has one. They're favored. That was probably the least effective game he has under his belt, right? That game against the Lions, or against the Rams, rather. Yeah. He's 9-1. Like, that's probably better odds than what he is to score 2, right? You would be more familiar than I am with that.
Right. If he's probably like 165, 170 to score a touchdown, if I had to take a guess off the top of my head, and he's probably, I don't know, plus 600, plus 700, 800, somewhere around there to win for 2. So for him to lead the playoffs at plus 900, I can get behind that.
11-1 to score 2. 155, though, good call by you, to score 1. So right in that range. Tom knows his stuff.
Laporta and then maybe Mark Andrews.
Yeah, well, listen, you got to talk to some people, get them to hang the number for you, Tom. Maybe you get a boost. Maybe we get the Tom Vecchio boost. That would be tangy. Would love that. All right, great stuff there. That is Tom Vecchio with us here on SportsGrid. Coming up next, we're going to have Coach James Young as we get set for a jam-packed 3-game slate of NBA action where everybody is on a back-to-back. We'll be right back.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run, run, run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro football today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
San Francisco minus 120 to win the NFC Championship. It's the Cowboys with the second best number. The Eagles at 7-1.
What the hell's the difference between the 6th and the 7th seed? I need my guys healthy here to make a playoff push. They took the bye week and still won the football game. You want to talk about two franchises going in the wrong direction? The Eagles. Ridiculous what they did this week.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
It's a lot of fun to do because you could kind of, place a season-long bet all at once and just wait it out. I've always found that interesting. But New York is one state where it's a little bit unclear.
You cannot bet on basically anything that requires a vote. So you're talking about an MVP award, a Cy Young, a Rookie of the Year, anything where people at the end of the year have to vote.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
And I tell you what, there's 1,000,001 coaching vacancies right now. Brady Cannon is a candidate for the Vegas Raider job. Like there's so many jobs available right now. NFL teams are coming to the grid for our talent. So there's that many head coaching spots available right now. I'm going to submit my resume.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Back right here on SportsGrid. I'm Kevin Walsh with you, joined now by Coach James Young. JY, a lot for us to get to here. The college basketball world is packed. The Tennessee-Florida game is ongoing right now. I am trying to root in former Iona great Walter Clayton Jr. And the Gators right now. He's got 13 points. I got to tell you, man, that Iona team, I mean, Dennis Jenkins playing well at St. John's, Clayton averaging over 15 a game in the SEC, Nelly Jr. Joseph playing late night with New Mexico here. If only the committee didn't give us UConn. Could have won a game on the way out, JY.
Could have. Hey, you know why? It's all about Rick Pitino, the greatness of Rick Pitino. I mean, listen, let's be honest. Pitino's a great coach, but can we put some respect on Tim Clue's name? Like, everybody thinks like Iona was invented by Pitino. They were as good or better when Tim was coaching that team. I know him and King Rice didn't like each other. Shout out to my man King Rice. But Tim was a hell of a coach at Iona before he left.
Shout out to Tim Cluse, no doubt. Let's talk about Rick Pitino tonight. Not going to be available for St. John's. They're going against Seton Hall. JY, what are you looking for in this game?
You know, listen, maybe call it my Seton Hall fandom, call it my friendship with Ryan Whalen and Shaheen Holloway. I like the way this team's playing. I think this backcourt of Richmond and Dawes is like the backcourt that no one's heard of. That's one of the best backcourts in the country, especially since Dawes has gone to the starting line and scoring at will. I think Seton Hall is very good at the rock. And I'm going to say this, folks. You may not think so, but I've been there. Going to the head coaching chair, even if you're Masiello with experience, it's a lot, especially because how much like Pitino relies on Masiello. The line hasn't moved since Pitino's been out with COVID. It's still plus 1.5. I do like Seton Hall to win this game and set up a really big and fun matchup again on Saturday at home. Seton Hall, Creighton, high noon. Big game for both teams tonight. Seton Hall wins, they stay in first place in the Big East. I think they win.
All right, some Big East action there. Excited to watch that game play out. St. John's, I know people feel like they've been maybe turning the corner a little bit, but it's a big spot against Seton Hall, no doubt. JY, maybe a game a little off the beaten path here. Some MAC action with Toledo. What are you looking for?
Well, you look at a team like Toledo that's played relatively well this year and seems to be always being a good home team. Obviously, they're laying 14.5 points in their game tonight. And you look at their opponent, just not a very good team at all. Struggles against the spread. And I just think Toledo's one of these teams. And Buffalo has got, people know, I forget George's last name, but George was the top assistant at Villanova and left this year. They're not good against the spread. And I think you have a matchup here where they're going to get it done. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take with Toledo minus 14.5. It has moved folks to 15.5 on FanDuel. So do shop around when you look at it. Toledo, one of the better mid-major teams came up in the country year after year. Buffalo really struggling. Give me Toledo minus the points at home.
All right, there we go. Look, JY, there's a lot of good action here on this college board tonight. Wisconsin in Big Ten play is making a trip to go up against Penn State. The Nittany Lions sure could use one here. You think they have a chance to get it?
No. No, for lack of a better term, no. And here's the thing. This was an interesting spot I took last night, Kevin, even though they were underdogs. I took Iowa plus the 2.5 on the road at Minnesota. And I'm kind of going with the same logic here, right? My logic being, yes, the Big Ten is topsy-turvy. But if you want to be a team that gets in the tournament, you got to beat, or get good seeds, you got to beat the bad teams on the road. This should be a matchup that I think Greg Gardner's team's playing. Listen, they may be the surprise team, Kevin, let's be honest, of the Big Ten being undefeated. You know, they even have a home win against Marquette earlier this year. I like the way this team's playing. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lay the points with Wisconsin on the road. I think they win by 10-12 against a Penn State team. Another new coach, Mike Rhodes from VCU, great coach, did a great job with that Havoc style. He's struggling a little bit, right? It's going to take him a little bit of time, kind of like Ed Cooley, some of these other guys. So this is a spot where I'm going to jump on Wisconsin minus a 5.5. Usually I wouldn't do it, K-Dub, because you know that short spread of a ranked team on the road. I just like this spot for Wisconsin to get this win by 10 points or more.
Tell me, JY, are you buying into Wisconsin? This is a preseason future of mine, up to 9th in KenPom there, which might catch some people by surprise, but a 13-3 team overall who's 5-0 so far in Big Ten play.
Well, here's the problem, K-Dub, and let's be brutally honest. Can we trust any team in the Big Ten? Can we really actually trust any team in the Big Ten? That's the issue. What you can hang your head on for a team like Wisconsin is, if you think about their losses at Providence at the Dunk, okay, well, that's fine, right? The Dunk is a tough place to play. Hopkins was there. Lost by 10 to Tennessee. Tennessee's up and down, but Tennessee at home, they're generally fantastic. You know, it's games on the neutral site. Lost to Arizona by 25, so that's the one you want to look at. But I want to see them start to step up a notch. Think about their Big Ten play so far. Northwestern at home. Ohio State, not that great. Nebraska, we knew Nebraska was going to lose that game after Nebraska turned around and won their last game, the previous game versus Purdue. Iowa at home. Like, who have they stepped up and played? Michigan State? I can't get with Sparty. I want to start to see them come down the stretch. They have a stretch where February 4th to the 10th, home Purdue, at Michigan, at Rutgers. That's what we're going to learn more about Wisconsin. I can't buy into it because I can't buy into any Big Ten team. I just think in this spot tonight against Penn State, they should get the job done.
So when you say you can't buy into any Big Ten team, though, I thought, are you still timid on Purdue?
I just, you know what, Kevin? Every time they suck me in, they pull me back out, right? The exact opposite. And with them is, it's guard play, Kevin. Like, this team in Purdue does not shoot the ball well at times on the road. And you know it, and I know it, Kevin. When it comes down to the NCAA tournament, the game slows down, right? You're going to have to get the ball. You can't just throw it to Edey. And if you look at their offense, Kevin, and you watch as much basketball as I do, right? It's a very antiquated offense, right? It's high ball screen or a pin down screen, bring up Braden Smith or someone, duck in Edey, throw the ball, jump hook over the left shoulder. It becomes a little bit predictable to scout, and now you start looking at is can they knock down shots? Even in a win against Purdue, against Penn State, which Penn State wasn't good, they still only shot 32.1% from three. Like, this is going to, I'm sorry, that's Purdue. It shot 45.8% from three. So, to me, Smith, Lawyer, Jones. That is going to be what happens with Purdue. It's not going to be Edey, Kevin, because teams are going to find a way to push them out of that comfort spot in the middle of the lane. And I just don't know if they have enough guys that can get it done. They're a year older. Is their guard play better than Kentucky's? No. Arizona's? No. Houston's? No. I can keep going down the line. Marquette? No. I don't know if this team can get it done with the perimeter play.
Again, I think the funny thing with Purdue is they look like a team that would be very difficult to see being knocked off by a bad team. And then you remember they lost as a 1 seed to a 16 seed. So, yeah, they can kick rocks. JY, let's keep going through your college card tonight. Big 12 style here. What are you doing with Cincinnati laying a number against ranked TCU?
Well, this could call me another one of my favorite people. I've always been a big Jamie Dixon guy, Kevin. You know that. And I think Jamie Dixon went to a spot like TCU and really made them a team that I think is pretty good and pretty competitive. Now, I know they're on the road. They just came off a big win at home versus Houston. I like this experience. I like Jamie Dixon's team. I think Cincinnati at home being favored. I think this is the one spot where, I like the road underdog here at 2.5. You can take them on the money line at plus 122. I'd rather take the protection at plus 2.5 in case it's a small spread right here when I got it at 1.5, so it has moved a little bit. I'm going to take Kansas State plus the points. I think they squeak out a win, but you have the 1.5 or 2.5 to give you a little bit of extra protection just in case.
So I think I was tempted by Cincinnati, admittedly. Just they had that expected step-up spot against Texas, and they did not get it done. They lost the game outright, laying 5. But the 2 road games they've played so far were tough spots. Baylor and BYU covered in both of those games. So if Cincinnati's for real, if the trend of home teams are going to cover, then the Bearcats should get it done. But TCU does deserve a lot of credit for what we've seen from them so far in Big 12 play. Baylor, I always liked the Bears, but they have struggled to touch against top defenses, and K-State might qualify as that. So I want to see kind of what we get tonight from that game. The Big 12 question I wanted to ask you quickly, though, JY, is Houston. They opened Big 12 play with a stomping of West Virginia. You know, part of me, is that a statement? Well, yes, that West Virginia is not all that good. Houston is plus 380 all of a sudden now to win the Big 12 regular season. I mean, they're going to be booked in favorites in a lot of these basketball games, but they've already lost twice, booked as a favorite in conference.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. But if you think about the 2 places they lost at Iowa State and TCU, if you think about it, we were talking about, we were on air because I think if I remember Iowa State, I liked TCU. I liked Houston minus the points. You liked the team total over last week. And they just got off to a terrible start, right? Down 14-0 early on. Had to work there all the way back. TCU game, they lose, in the last 6-7 seconds. Caleb, they're basically 4 minutes away from being 2-0. And in 2 spots that are really, really, really tough to play. Now, the schedule loosens up a little bit the next 2, even though Texas Tech at home is not an easy game. They have UCF at home. Then they got to go to BYU. Interesting spot. But that big week coming up of January 28th versus Texas and then February 3rd at Kansas. They can't afford to lose another game before they get to that Kansas game. That's going to be a huge one. But I do think, folks, when you talk about teams that are really overrated, and they've come out of the top 25, let's be honest. This season shows how great their coach Chris Beard is, because those were different guys last year at Texas. They're struggling. They're not the Texas team we thought they were, and that's also because of the fact that I just think, take away what the stuff he's done off the floor. God damn it, Chris Beard is one of the best coaches in the country. I mean, ain't even close. I mean, he's got Ole Miss ranked. So to me, big spot for Houston. I think they can get rolling. That big game at Kansas is going to be a huge one. And remember, folks, they end the regular season home versus Kansas as well.
Yeah, I'm curious, what we see out of Baylor. And again, tonight will go a long way because Kansas plays Baylor and Houston home and road, but Baylor and Houston only meet once, and Baylor gets to host that game. Currently 2-0, or 2-1 rather, within the conference. Could that be the separator? JY will be back in about 20 minutes. We'll go through the NBA card on the other side.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices. We're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
Right now, we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division.
I don't care if they win because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
San Francisco minus 120 to win the NFC Championship. It's the Cowboys with the second best number. The Eagles at 7-1.
What the hell's the difference between the 6th and the 7th seed? I need my guys healthy here to make a playoff push. They took the bye week and still won the football game. You want to talk about 2 franchises going in the wrong direction? The Eagles. Ridiculous what they did this week.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
It's a lot of fun to do because you could kind of, place a season-long bet all at once and just wait it out. I've always found that interesting. But New York is one state where it's a little bit unclear.
You cannot bet on basically anything that requires a vote. So you're talking about an MVP award, a Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, anything where people at the end of the year have to vote.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
And I tell you what, there's 1,000,001 coaching vacancies right now. Brady Cannon is a candidate for the Vegas Raider job. Like there's so many jobs available right now. NFL teams are coming to the grid for our talent. So there's that many head coaching spots available right now. I'm going to submit my resume.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid. Back right here on SportsGrid. Interesting boost available on FanDuel, which is Jokic and Embiid each to record 25 points and 8 rebounds. So the thing with that, Embiid right now is on this run of 30 and 10. It's a certainly historic run for the Sixers franchise. If you know, Embiid's prop is 33.5 for points. Rebound number for Embiid is 10.5. For Jokic, it's 11.5. Is that really just plus 260 Jokic to score 25? It's boosted up from 160 to plus 250, excuse me. That's not bad. That's not a bad way to back a couple of MVPs if they step up to the table. Because you're getting a lot of, that is a full dollar added to a number. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. I mentioned the points plus assists from Nikola Jokic. One thing I'm very curious of, and I think games like this you always should take a look at before it happens. Nikola Jokic to win league MVP plus 170. Joel Embiid is plus 800. So I do think Embiid is going to end up... Okay, so I think there's a pretty good chance Embiid will end up missing the games. But even if he doesn't, right? 65, right, is what he needs to play. Let's say Embiid plays 67 games. It's pretty difficult to win league MVP playing 67 games if your counterparts are playing significantly more than that. And I know Embiid last year did play 66 games. I'm talking about a guy repeating and Embiid not being able to follow through on the postseason in the way that Nikola Jokic was. I almost root tonight for Embiid 45, 15, and 8, right? Win. Change these numbers. Drop Jokic back plus 240. Drop SGA back or bounce plus 350. I just don't think Embiid is going to be able to cross this finish line through the rules or through the narratives, and you're then going to be able to get a great piece of action here in this MVP market. We're coming up against the break, though. At the top of the hour, Davis Maddox going to help us out, get you guys the same game parlay tonight, and I want to go to the top of the board for college basketball, reset the card, as well as the futures market.
Welcome back in Sports Grid with you on a Tuesday. 7 o'clock plays coming up for me include my best bet. I just realized Khalil Ware. That's over 13.5 points. So let's re-rack this for the people. Ware's points prop is 13.5 against elite competition. He's average 11.7 points per game on 23.3% shooting. I'm sure for some of you might say, whoa, that's an under. It goes the other way. I think this is a great step-up spot for him tonight, where against this type of competition, Khalil Ware gets the job done against Zach Edey, could break out 20-plus points, is on the table for me tonight in this Big Ten battle. I like Khalil Ware over 13.5 points here in Big Ten play, averaging nearly 15 a game on 59% shooting from the field. If the efficiency is there, he breaks out. We are also taking the over 12.5 points for Grant Nelson. This is a spot that they have to get him going against a defense well outside the top 100 in Mizzou. The Alabama Crimson Tide need the North Dakota State transfer to really step up here, and this is the caliber defense he can do it against. If you look on this season, 9 points, 0 points, and 9 points in his 3 SEC games. He is much better than that. Still averages 12.5 for the season. I like that step-up spot there for Grant Nelson. So some SEC action there and then a Big Ten battle. Let's just see where that line is going to close because it is a big one between Purdue and Indiana. 9.5 is the number. I know some folks were hoping to see if they could catch double digits in that game, but sometimes double digits are not all you make them out to be. Unfortunately, we did get a little burst there from Tennessee or from Florida. They cut this lead to 10. It was 61-51. And it just started to pull away for Tennessee. The next thing you know, the score was 73-51. So just too good of a run here tonight. Florida did not have it against the Vols. Offensively, shooting 21% from the field and 28% from 2. That's always going to do it. Radio audiences here. Appreciate all those stopping by across the network, including Sirius XM Channel 159. I'm Kevin Walsh. It's Game Time Decisions. But let's get over to Davis Maddock. He goes to the NBA for a Thunder Clippers same-game parlay.
All right, guys, we are back for another same-game parlay. Over on the FanDuel Sportsbook, we're going to the last game of the night, the Oklahoma City Thunder at the Los Angeles Clippers. Going to surprise you guys on this one. I'm taking the Clippers minus 5.5 points. I would take them up to 7. The last time I saw the Thunder be a big dog to another team on the road on the second game of a back-to-back, it was against the Atlanta Hawks. I had no idea why. They ended up getting ran out of the building on that game. Young team, lots to learn. Back-to-backs are going to be hard for them. I like this spot for the Clippers. And we're also going to take the over on 236.5. The Clippers have been so efficient on offense. They have just been absolutely rolling through teams. They beat the Spurs by 4. They beat the Magic by 16. They smoked the Portland Trailblazers the other night as well. And I think the Thunder's defense on the second night of a back-to-back is really going to slip. And then we are going to juice up our same-game parlay by taking Kawhi Leonard to score over 30 points in this game. Not something he has been doing frequently, although he did do it against the Lakers just a week ago. But really, he is playing at the height of his game. And I think that the defensive matchup for him, he will be able to attack Giddey in the pick and roll. I think that'll be one of the few spots where the Clippers are able to really get their buckets. I don't think James Harden is going to have that much fun against the Oklahoma City Thunder. So this 3-leg same-game parlay is going to give us plus 590 odds. The Clippers minus 5.5, over 236.5, and Kawhi Leonard to score 30 or more points in this game. Good luck tonight, everybody.
All right, appreciate the breakdown there from Davis Maddox tonight, looking for Kawhi Leonard. So was Tom Vecchio, who joined us a little bit earlier. We've got a good crew join us here in hour number 2. JY stops by. We'll get his NBA plays. Mike Blewett going to help us re-rack what happened in the NFL. And then Dave Sharapan at 7:40. So be locked here on Game Time Decisions. I just want to stop by on the college basketball market here. We sent out 4 futures on this show. Sent out. We locked in with 4 futures here to win the national championship. And there were varying numbers. Gonzaga 35-1, Alabama 50-1, Auburn 80-1, and then Wisconsin 125-1. And we've done well with 3 out of the 4. Ironically, it is what was supposed to be the best team who has fallen the furthest, and that would be the Gonzaga Bulldogs. I believe you can find them at numbers as high as 90 to 1 to win the national championship. Certainly not going to be a reinvestment for me. Alabama, though, has dropped. I believe you could still find 40 to 1 on that team, which is not too far off. And then Auburn's come crashing down, some 20, maybe 22 to 1's best number. And then Wisconsin, I think there's still a 60 out there, but that's kind of half of the number. And that is, again, for me, a really good spot to be in. And that's why with the college basketball futures right now, and I'll just, again, kind of pull up FanDuel because I know it's very accessible to everybody. Your top choices there, Purdue, Arizona, UConn, Houston, as the only 4 teams that are underneath 15 to 1. Purdue at 8 to 1 is a standalone, only team underneath a 10 to 1 price. North Carolina and Auburn round out the top 6 as the only teams under 20 to 1 right now to win the national championship. And this is where, for me, because I'm sure plenty of you didn't kind of get involved on the preseason tickets, maybe 1 or 2. But I have 4 teams that I fully expect to get now to the NCAA tournament, right? I think Alabama's going to have themselves a really good run here in SEC play. We'll see how what kind of start this team can get off to in their game against Missouri in a couple of moments. Auburn, again, a 14-2 basketball team, 4th in KenPom right now. Wisconsin, 13-3, 9th in KenPom right now. And again, Bama at 6. Gonzaga, despite being 11-5, 27th overall, we know they're going to be there. So I'm going to put 4 teams into the tournament. I'm going to have to be very picky and choosy about re-adding inside the national championship market. Maybe longer Final Four shots could be interesting, but the thing is the Final Four market is very depressed. If you look right now, 5 to 1, if you just use 5 to 1 as the bar, there are at the moment 11 teams booked at 5 to 1 to make the Final Four. Personally, that doesn't feel as worthwhile of an ad at the moment. So what's likely to happen to me, so when the bracket is set, if there's something that looks great, then yes, I would be tempted. But aside from that, it could very well be a scenario where I have to let the round of 64 play out, hope that all 4 teams could get through that round. Now, that may be unlikely, but hope that is true. And then you can really start to kind of work from there. I will mention, if you're looking right now at 50 to 1 or longer, you're going to hear a lot of Michigan State because of Izzo. Illinois is interesting, though. If they get Shannon Jr. back, I know that's obviously a complex situation, but still, if they did get Shannon Jr. back, that would be interesting. Memphis has been good. I'm sure some folks are going to look to buy FAU. Pedigree, been there. You guys know I'm not as interested in that team. And then, look, Patino's 100 to 1. I'm not touching it. I'd rather bet Iona. JY's next, right here talking NBA.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices. We're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
Right now, we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I don't care if they win because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
San Francisco minus 120 to win the NFC Championship. It's the Cowboys with the second best number. The Eagles at 7 to 1.
What the hell's the difference between the 6th and the 7th seed? I need my guys healthy here to make a playoff push. They took the bye week and still won the football game. You want to talk about 2 franchises going in the wrong directions? The Eagles. Ridiculous what they did this week.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
It's a lot of fun to do because you could kind of, place a season-long bet all at once and just wait it out. I've always found that interesting. But New York is one state where it's a little bit unclear.
You cannot bet on basically anything that requires a vote. So you're talking about an MVP award, Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, anything where people at the end of the year have to vote.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
And I tell you what, there's 1,000,001 coaching vacancies right now. Brady Cannon is a candidate for the Vegas Raider job. Like there's so many jobs available right now. NFL teams are coming to the grid for our talent. So there's that many head coaching spots available right now. I'm going to submit my resume.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Back with you here on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh joined once again by Coach James Young. JY, excited to get into these NBA games and see where you're finding value. Nuggets and Sixers is always big when we get Embiid against Nikola Jokic. How do you look to attack the matchup?
Well, this is obviously going to be a big game and a big matchup between these two guys, Kevin. Obviously, the last three MVPs. I'm going to go somewhere that, JY doesn't do much, and that's hunting for plus money. Plus 172 on FanDuel. Joel Embiid to make over 1.5 made threes. Now, hear me out, folks. He's done this 5 out of his last 8 games. 3 of the last 4 games, he hit this versus the Joker, including the last 2 last year. And in the last 5 matchups, he has scored or shot at least 3 3-pointers 5 times in a row. And I do think he shot, 6 and 7 or 6 and 5 the last 2 matchups. To me, this is a matchup where I think the Joker gets concerned about foul trouble. So I could see more pick and pop situations where he sits off of Embiid and let Embiid let it go to pray he misses it and go get the rebound. So the way I'm going to play it is I'm going to go Joker. Oh, I didn't even talk about this. Joker to go over his rebounds. But I like JoJo plus 172 over 1.5 made threes.
All right. What about, I saw minus 145 for Nikola Jokic to make 1. He's done that in all but one of their meetings. Do you think there's some idea for Jokic to look to pull and beat out on the perimeter on the other side of this matchup?
Yeah, I think that would be an interesting way to play it. I think that's the way you should do it and shop around because I looked at I think FanDuel. I don't see it there, but I'm sure other books will have Joker to make a 3. I think that's a good way to play, Kevin, because neither one wants to get in foul trouble, so they're not going to go chase on the perimeter, right? Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what you also get looked at is you could have JoJo sit back off of the Joker because of the sight line and take away sight lines. And so, they put him at that pinch post at the top of the key where he can dime people up. I think he sits off it too. So that wouldn't be a bad play to also look at Joker to go over to make a 3. By the way, Embiid already went from plus 172 to plus 164 in the last 30 or so seconds. So if you want to get in on it before tip-off, you may want to do it now before he drops any more.
I have a Jokic complaint. I want to ask you if it's fair or not. So Nikola Jokic in his last 9 games, JY, right, is averaging 23 points per game. And in that stretch, I'm trying to pull this up to give you the exact. Nikola Jokic, for what he's shooting from the field, is 81%. I don't think that's acceptable. I don't think it is acceptable for the best player on your team to have a 9-game window shooting 81% from the field and averaging 23 a game.
No.
Like, I know I'm turning a big positive into a negative, but we all know he's the best player on this team. We all know he is very close to impossible to guard. It is not like he doesn't have a green light. There is no world in which I'm going, oh, well, it's Michael Porter Jr.'s fault or it's Jamal Murray's fault. I don't want to hear that. The second Jokic says you defer to me, they will defer to him. I know he is spectacular, but he really should not be averaging 10, 11 field goal attempts a night when he's playing this well offensively. Is that fair?
No, I think he should be getting more shots. But if you think about it, Kevin, I talked about it on the podcast, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, before he got on this run. Like, think about this. He's had this crazy run of 9 games. Ready, folks? He's still shooting 5 percentage points lower than he shot last year. He shot at 63.2% last year. He's up to 58.2 with this streak, right? He's shooting at 35% from 3, 38.3 last year. Free throw line, he's within 0.3 of a point, so no big deal. So I wonder sometimes, folks, I'm going to say this. I think the Joker plays it safe sometimes. Like, I think he does play it safe sometimes. Like, if you're shooting at 81% from the floor, God damn it, give this guy 20 shots a night. And everybody else fall back, right? Michael Porter Jr., I don't care. Sit your ass in the back of the line. You get in where you fit in. Aaron Gordon, just cut to the basket and get dunks. Jamal Murray, yeah, you nice. Give it to Joker and get the hell out of the way. So I think that's the thing. I understand your logic. But to me, I almost look at it as the Joker's playing it safe with all these games because he's got to get ready. He's got to get his stats up, his field goal percentage. I think he thinks that's going to help with the MVP race. The best thing that's happened for him in the MVP race is that we don't know. We don't think. I think. Why do we give this miss? Embiid's missed 11 games so far, right? That's why Embiid keeps falling down on the MVP race. It doesn't do with his play. His placement. If Joel Embiid missed 3 games, Kevin, I think he's the favorite right now to win the MVP. In my opinion, right? So to me, I think it's the Joker's playing it safe to get his stats up to help his case for MVP. Sorry, I said it.
Kings Suns, JY, a lot of intrigue tonight here. Phoenix now with the big 3 readily available. How do you feel about this matchup? Where's the value?
You know, Kevin, I struggled with all 3 of these games. I feel like these games could go either way, right? So I just went straight props. This game, I'm going to go with 2 of them. Harrison Barnes over 12.5 points plus rebounds, over 9 of his last 15 games, 25 out of 39 season, 5 straight versus Phoenix. I expect plenty of points in this game. And I think this is a low number. I think I heard you earlier, if I'm not mistaken, you were on Keegan Murray. I'm going to go to the other guy in the front court. I think he gets there. Give me Harrison Barnes. On the other side,
Tom Vecchio.
Oh, Vecchio did. Sorry. Yusuf, and I did hear Tom. My bad. Sorry, Tom. That's on me. Yusuf Nurkic, double-double. I got it at even money down to minus 105. Averaging 12.5, 10.4 this season. 2 double-doubles in his last 4 games. 15 and 9 in his last game versus Sabonis. When he gets 30-plus minutes, he's 9 out of 16 to get a double-double. Kevin, I think he's missed 3 or 4 of them by a rebound or a point. He's going to have to rebound to keep Sabonis off the boards. You know and I know Sabonis is not a very strong defender. Give me Yusuf Nurkic, double-double, minus 105.
All right, JY, and then I want to make sure we have time for it here. There's some late-night action with the Clippers and the Thunder. How are you going to look to bet on this game?
You know what this is, Kev? This is, let Russ cook. Let Russ cook. Russell Westbrook, points prop, 10.5. I know, only 6 out of his last 12 games he's hit this. OKC's on a back-to-back. They were bad. I think it scored, 105 versus the Lakers last night? They're going to get up and down the floor. Clippers will run with them. High-paced game. Russell Westbrook, 12 games, folks. in which he's played against Oklahoma City, 11 times he's gone over this points prop. I think he's going to have a big game tonight. Russell gets 15 plus tonight.
All right, how about that? The Brody back in OKC. Little Clippers prop? You excited about the Clippers?
Hey, Friezo. Friezo, we on the Clippers, right, Friezo? Y'all can't hear Friezo.
Who's that?
But I can hear him in my ear.
Nobody knows who that is.
We're all
No one knows who that is.
Yeah.
Are you getting your picks from producers? I mean, what are we doing here?
No.
I mean, what are we doing here?
Friezo, do you believe this guy right now?
Stop begging. Why are you asking for help?
I don't need
What
help.
are you doing?
Listen.
You keep begging for help.
I'm going to say this. I was wrong. As a coach, you got to admit when you were wrong. You give me the K-Dub, but give me the ISO box for a couple seconds. I was wrong.
I'll kick you right off this show. I'll tell you that right now.
I was wrong.
I'll kick you right off this show. Enjoy your last hit. All right? Get ready to speak sports rage, buddy. That's great stuff out of Coach James Young. We appreciate him stopping by. We'll see if there's any room for him. He's lucky he gets the Whack Pack Wednesday. Coming up next, Mike Blewett, some real sense, steps into the show right here on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run, run, run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I don't care if they win because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
San Francisco minus 120 to win the NFC Championship. It's the Cowboys with the second best number. The Eagles at 7-1.
What the hell's the difference between the 6 and the 7 seed? I need my guys healthy here to make a playoff push. They took the bye week and still won the football game. You want to talk about two franchises going in the wrong directions? The Eagles. Ridiculous what they did this week.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
It's a lot of fun to do because you could kind of, place a season-long bet all at once and just wait it out. I've always found that interesting. But New York is one state where it's a little bit unclear.
You cannot bet on basically anything that requires a vote. So you're talking about an MVP award, a Cy Young, a Rookie of the Year, anything where people at the end of the year have to vote.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
And I tell you what, there's 1,000,001 coaching vacancies right now. Brady Cannon is a candidate for the Vegas Raider job. Like there's so many jobs available right now. NFL teams are coming to the grid for our talent. So there's that many head coaching spots available right now. I'm going to submit my resume.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Back right here, it's Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh, joined now by Mike Blewett. Mike, what a weekend it was. What a weekend it wasn't. Yeah, Philadelphia Eagles stink. I mean, come on, you guys were 10-point dogs. Like, we both were eliminated yesterday, but you kind of had to have a feeling, no?
Yeah, I would say the fallout from a Steelers loss is far less than what it is from an Eagles loss, but it's been a long time since the Steelers have been able to win a playoff game, so that frustration's starting to grow, but they were down their best player on the road against maybe the hottest team in all of football. So I can't say I was confident going in, but I'm a fan. I was hoping for better things. I will say that once they got down 21-0, Kev, they outscored the Bills 17-10. So they were kind of hot there at the end. You give those guys they are. You give those guys 3 or 4 more quarters, we're in a tie ball game.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe, right? We could say that. We could say maybe. Here's the thing, Mike. I want to stick with this, though, because we're going to do the Eagles coach in a minute.
Yeah.
What the heck's going on with Tomlin? Like, the Tomlin conversation I'm used to is we go, is he on the hot seat? He'll be hired in 4 seconds. He's obviously not getting fired. He's never going to be under 500. I am not used to Adam Schefter saying, yeah, I don't know, he might do the Sean Payton, retire for a year and come back. What do you make of the Steelers' head coaching situation?
I think anytime you're in a place like he's been for over 15 years is a really long time to be in that pressure cooker, to be on that, to have some of the pressure that he receives. I think he knows he works for a great organization, but they haven't had a lot of success recently, at least ultimate success. And he's probably feeling a lot of that pressure, despite the fact that you and I know he's a great coach, and I like him a lot as a fan. There are a lot of Steelers fans out there that like to hate on him and put up the playoff record. The Steelers, since they lost the Super Bowl to Aaron Rodgers after the 2010 season, they have 3 playoff wins. Those playoff wins are against A.J. McCarron, Matt Moore, and on the road against Alex Smith, a game in which they kicked 6 field goals to win. So home playoff losses to Baker Mayfield, home playoff loss to Blake Bortles, and overtime loss to Tim Tebow a long time ago. Those start to add up, and people start to craft a narrative that they think he's a disappointing head coach when there are some disappointing losses in there, no question. I just think he is uncomfortable with discussing his future in an open forum. And the fact that he's only got 1 year left on his contract, he hasn't been given an extension, is going to give rise to discussion points like this.
Yeah, again, it's an odd thing. Maybe the odder thing, and maybe I'm well off base here. The first name that came to mind when I thought about replacing Mike Tomlin was Nick Sirianni. I just feel like it would work, feel like he'd be there forever. And I don't know where you land on the Sirianni thing, but for me, 3 seasons, 3 playoffs, 34-17 went to the Super Bowl. But I totally understand that this finish justifies a fire. But I am not definitively saying there's no world this guy should be allowed to be the Eagles head coach. And I think that all these vacancies out there, teams, if the Eagles move on from Sirianni, should be calling him as potentially their new lead man.
Sure. Look, anybody can be fired. Bill Belichick was fired. We've seen Marty Schottenheimer fired after a 13-3 season. Anyone can get fired. And this is a really epic collapse. But you got a quarterback that looks like he's broken down. You lost your offensive and defensive coordinator in the same season. Obviously, some of the decisions made to replace those guys are in question for a good reason. But do I think he absolutely should be fired? No. It's just whenever you think that you are watching a team whose coach has lost them, it's going to have everybody saying, oh, he's out of there. Because it really did look like the team wasn't playing particularly hard. Certainly not last night. No tackling. Jalen was a mess last night. I think it's due to injuries, but I think the loss of the offensive and defensive coordinator were a little bit too much for a relatively inexperienced head coach to handle. And by the way, the offensive coordinator that left him may prove to be ultimately a better head coach than him. Certainly early returns can have us arguing that. And I just think it was a lot for the Eagles to withstand. And the Super Bowl hangover for the Super Bowl loser is real.
But this is, I can't believe we're going to do this again. And it's not you that's bothering me at all, I promise. But Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl. Frank Reich left, and then we went, well, Frank Reich, he was the whole story. And I think people have since learned that obviously wasn't true. Frank Reich may never get another head coaching job, and Doug Peterson might be in Jacksonville for a while. Shane Steichen was excellent this year. If I had a vote, would give him Coach of the Year. He didn't accomplish more in his opening season than Sirianni did. Shane Steichen had a home game to go to the playoffs, and if they would have won it, they would have won the division. They lost the game. Sirianni went to the Super Bowl. Now, I know Steichen was still there for it, but again, the down season for Nick Sirianni was, 10-11, was 11-6? It just so happened that obviously Dallas had themselves a good enough season. I'm not saying it wasn't a collapse, but again, this is where I struggle with it. The biggest downfall, I think, maybe, Mike, is that there's really good head coaching options out there. Most notably, I feel like Vrabel could end up the man in Philadelphia reuniting with A.J. Brown.
That would be pretty interesting to me as an option. I think the Titans were silly to overplay their hand there, although I think Mike Vrabel maybe didn't really want to stay there much longer. He wasn't going to resign, so I think it led to some difficult discussions. I agree with you, by the way, that I'm speculating completely on Steichen's talent versus Sirianni's talent, and I don't think that Sirianni should be fired for a bad 5-game stretch. The Steelers have gone through this. We've seen Dallas go through this, and some of those coaches have weathered the storm. What we don't know the answer to is how bad it is inside the room. Is it really the head coach clashing with players? Is it the players losing faith in the head coach because of some of the appointments that he made, a.k.a. Matt Patricia? We don't really know the answer to that. Only Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie are going to make a decision on that, and it's pure speculation otherwise. But I don't think necessarily that this stretch should get him fired, even though it was brutal to watch.
Yeah, let's look ahead a little bit, Mike. It's a Tuesday, but 4 games out and available. Buffalo lays 2.5, Detroit 6.5, Niners and Ravens both 9.5-point favorites. Of the divisional round, which line is catching your eye the most right now?
I would say right now, and we saw really good performances, obviously, by teams like Tampa and Green Bay, but I do think that the one that jumps out to me is Green Bay, only because as good as the Niners are, Green Bay has been excellent. The quarterback play has been excellent, and 10 points is a lot. Just going out and laying 10 points in playoff games is not really something I'm going to be excited to do. I do think the Niners get the win, but Jordan Love is on a heater as much as any quarterback in the entire playoffs is right now. Maybe Josh Allen compares to him. Baker obviously played great last night, but going up against Jordan Love and a historically young team may have some Niners fans licking their chops, but I like the points right now only because that layoff and Brock Purdy having to answer some playoff questions is still in play.
Yeah, I think for me, it's one of those spots where, what is the book to do, though, right? Like Green Bay looks hot as can be, but last week that number was 7.5, 7 against Dallas. You can't copy and paste the number, and you can't because the books believe the Niners are better than the Cowboys. And, incredibly, I think at 7.5, you'd still get a lot of people betting Green Bay. So I think that's a really interesting spot for the books to be in. I think, one of the big takeaways for me, Michael, from the weekend, though, is the Niners got to get there. Whoever comes out of the AFC is going to feel so dangerous. Buffalo will have won 8 games in a row.
Yep.
The Ravens will obviously have finally cashed in on a 1 seed. Or it's the big, bad, scary Patrick Mahomes. I don't really think the Texans can do it, but quite frankly, if they do, even though the Niners would be laying a big number, we'd be talking about C.J. Stroud having the greatest rookie season in the history of sports, period.
Yep.
But But when you line up the NFC, Mike, I mean, they're minus 180 to win the conference, but they should be. Maybe they should be more, honestly, than minus 180 to win the conference.
If only because they're playing this historically young team whose defense failed them for most of the season up until the other day for at least the first half before they waved the white flag. And Detroit advancing would mean Jared Goff on the road where he has struggled. The Lions playing their best game, though, against the Niners, I don't think it should stun anyone that they win that football game. It would just be surprising because Jared Goff will have gone on the road and performed in a way to beat the big bad Niners, is to borrow your phrase.
Yeah, I think, and that's, I like this Lions team. I don't want to say they're incapable, but again, let's just say that's the game. San Fran's laying what? 6? Get 5? So this is just the spot where it has, I think, lined up very nicely for them, and we'll be interested to play it out. Mike, maybe we'll talk more a little bit later in the week. I know you'll have things covered on In-Game Live. Appreciate the help. Dave Sharapan up next.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
Right now, we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I don't care if they win because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro football today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
San Francisco minus 120 to win the NFC Championship. It's the Cowboys with the second best number. The Eagles at 7-1.
What the hell's the difference between the 6th and the 7th seed? I need my guys healthy here to make a playoff push. They took the bye week and still won the football game. You want to talk about two franchises going in the wrong direction? The Eagles. Ridiculous what they did this week.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
It's a lot of fun to do because you could kind of, place a season-long bet all at once and just wait it out. I've always found that interesting. But New York is one state where it's a little bit unclear.
You cannot bet on basically anything that requires a vote. So you're talking about an MVP award, Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, anything where people at the end of the year have to vote.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
And I tell you what, there's 1,000,001 coaching vacancies right now. Brady Cannon is a candidate for the Vegas Raider job. Like there's so many jobs available right now. NFL teams are coming to the grid for our talent. So there's that many head coaching spots available right now. I'm going to submit my resume.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions. It is a Tuesday night. I'm Kevin Walsh. We got 20 minutes left until we pass it off to In-Game Live, where you will find Dave Sharapan, who is also here now. What's going on, Consig?
What's happening, K-Dub? Nothing. We're getting ready to come back east. I got to prep. I got to get my cold gear. I cleaned up the head. Yeah, so I'll be ready. I'll be ready to go. I'm going to come by and see you in person, watch you work, because we always talk like this. But I mean, nothing better than when I can just turn to my right or look across and see you and talk to you and get all the insight right there and see that glorious hair up close, let alone the mustache. I absolutely love it. Yeah.
Do I bring the stash back for Vegas? Nah, we'll see.
I don't know. I like what you got working all along here. This is just
it's going well, I think. Yeah. No hat tonight. No hat.
No hat tonight. I couldn't decide. There's such a big card of stuff, and I have a hat that I was going to wear. If you'd like me to put it on right now, I can, because I didn't know where you were going to go tonight. You wanted to go football? I got a hat. You want to go hockey? I got a hat. You want to go a little NBA? I ain't got a hat. But I'm ready to go. Whatever you want to talk about.
No, go. I think you go with whatever. Go with where your heart takes you. I think, Dave.
Okay.
I feel like it's almost we shouldn't even really do the segment until the hat's on. It's like we're on delay. You know what I mean?
Hit me with whatever you got. What did you take away from the weekend? That's all. That first and foremost. Do you have a Super Bowl matchup in mind after watching all of the games this weekend in the wild card round?
So for a little bit now, I've been thinking Niners-Bills. I really do think the Niners will be there. That's not a hot take. It's hard to bet. The Buffalo thing's a little concerning because Josh wasted an interceptionless game against Pittsburgh. Not once this season. That's not a joke. Not once this season has he gone back-to-back games without a pick. Not once. So,
oh boy,
not good. Not good.
The City's live then? Is that what you're saying? You're saying the Chiefs are actually live?
I mean, look, the line's 2.5, right?
Start, he could actually win it?
But that's what I'm saying, right? Like, that's the world where, of course Mahomes won his first road playoff game, right? Of course Josh opened the game throwing it to the other side. Like, that's very, very... Last year, Buffalo, I can't remember, beat Miami in the opening round and then followed that up by laying an egg to Cincinnati in Buffalo. You know, it's not like Buffalo's this house of horrors for other opponents. Teams get into Buffalo, feel comfortable.
Yes. I think the Chiefs are live, too. Listen, until the Bills do it, they may look like the best team. They may look like you said with Allen and playing perfect and all that other stuff, faking a slide and then standing up and running the rest of the way. It's become a very effective tool for quarterbacks to slide or fake slide. If they slide, the defender's running because he can't stop and then touches them, and it's 15 yards. So add that to the arsenal. I don't know, K-Dub. That one screams under to me. That screams tight game. That screams minimal turnovers. And again, that's not knowing the weather. So, you know, it's early Tuesday, but that's a first look at that one. The two games on Saturday, which dog covers? Is it the Texans or is it Green Bay? Or neither?
I think what's really interesting, so I got to imagine, what are people using these days? Are people still doing the 7-point teaser, or is 6 now the baseline?
Well, 6 is the cheapest, and a lot of people prefer the better price when I think to get the better point spread for an extra 10 cents, if that's all it is, if it's a difference between 30 and 40, I like to get the better number. It's huge. At this point in the season, you see how valuable the points are. So I don't know, but if you're using a 6-point teaser, that base is what? That gets you the favorite, right? That's going to be we're going to pre-print those teasers Saturday.
Well, no, so that's why I ask, because if you're using a 7-point teaser, right? Mm-hmm. How many Niners and Ravens minus 2.5 teasers are they going to print? A lot. They'll print a lot more of those than Texans and Packers plus 16.5, right?
It will be how many reams of paper will come from like the Sherwood Forest if you were at a sports book. Like that's how much paper you're going to need to print that two-team teaser on Saturday if you're taking them.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to preset them like, you know, the same game parlay bets. Here's your two-team teaser. You know, take the Ravens and the Niners. That's easy. But is that automatic? I mean, is that one like they don't have a chance of losing, do they? Can you see either one of them losing?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Which one?
Well, I think the scenario where either lost is, look, it's minus 480, minus 390, right? But the world where the Ravens, I think, and it sounds very simple, right? But ball first Stroud, ball first Love, go down, score, play ball. It's what obviously Green Bay was able to do against Dallas.
Yeah,
I think that's going to be the idea a little bit there. Can Lamar make a couple of mistakes? Here's kind of the issue I have, and you're going to hear a lot of, oh, these numbers are so high. Oh, my God, where do they get these numbers from?
Right, yeah.
But if you look at what they booked last week, the numbers aren't surprising. The Texans were catching 2.5 at home to Cleveland. That means the game would have been what, Dave, if we flipped it to Cleveland? 7?
6.5 or 7. Yep.
I mean, just based on home field advantage. So do the books think that Baltimore is a field goal better than Cleveland? Yes. So
absolutely.
But that's 9.5 then, right? Like that. So
the number
you go
makes
off of what they
sense
did
to us. Yes, the number is exactly what it should be, and this is that time where when you work in a book like I did all these years, people come up to the counter and go, "I can't believe that number. How did you guys come up with that number?
Mm-hmm.
Give me the dog. Give me the dog." And then you're left hold the ticket in the third quarter, and it's 31-3, and you're going, "Oh, that's why it was 9.5." So potential for blowout between both of those games is high. Green Bay has to play an absolute perfect game again, like they just did. They got to get ahead, keep going, have Purdy throw a pick and capitalize on it and score. I think that game's got the most juice of any game on the board this weekend. It's the highest total for a reason. That one's going up and over again.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Kyle, in a big game, if he can, he'll shut down shop. So you need Green Bay to come along. And that Packers finale against the Bears, who were playing well defensively, like all of a sudden all that juice wasn't there. I think the Dallas defense is frauds. I've been saying that for a long time. Let me say, now, I don't know how much, I mean, they are though, right? I mean, it's one of those things that's now going to be accepted as opposed to a hot take. Dallas defense stinks.
They got exposed.
I hope Micah Parsons wins DPOY. Because that was his last chance at it with that defense. Look, here's my thing, though, right? Now, I don't know how much, because you kind of probably have different things that you use, but I'm just going to go off the FanDuel splits that they post here, Dave. 65% of the bets on Houston, 54% of the money on Baltimore. 59% of the bets on Green Bay, 64% of the bets on San Francisco.
Yep.
And none of that surprised me. Right? Does it surprise you?
No. I mean, granted, it's Tuesday, so there's probably 12 bets on each. So take those percentages. I always say that. Take it with a grain of salt. 80% of the money that you handle on a game comes on the day before and the day of the game. So just be cautious with those percentages and those numbers. But, I mean, if 6 out of the 10 bets are on there, that says 60%. Everybody remembers what they saw last. They love the underdog. The C.J. Stroud story is great. And he played a perfect, clean game. I mean, it was good. They got a couple defensive scores. That score looked a little bit hot more than it was. Houston going to Baltimore and winning would surprise me more than Green Bay going to San Francisco and winning. And I know you just said San Francisco is probably punching their ticket to Vegas. But something about that Green Bay team and their defense, I think, being opportunistic, gives them that little stronger chance of an upset, I think, than Houston.
I think the reason I'd have to say Houston is the total, though, right? 44.5, we're supposed to play low-scoring football.
Yeah.
Here's the idea, right? If I told you Houston scored 21, you'd probably say they lost, but you'd be like, eh. If I told you Green Bay scored 21, you'd be like, oh, good, I hit my over. You know what I mean?
Niners team total over. Yep, Niners team total over. Feels like not a bunny, not a complete layup, but yes. So
yeah,
Green Bay's going to have to win, 38-34, something crazy like that. That's going to go back and forth. What about the other game on Sunday, 3 o'clock Eastern, noon Pacific, Tampa Bay and Detroit? What an impressive performance by Tampa last night. It was. Is Baker back? Can they go on the road and plus 225 money line to win? Because the steam came today and told the odds makers that any 5.5s or 5s that were last night are gone. Got to the 6. Now they're peaking at touching 7 because they know you can get a bet on Tampa at 7. Is that the side? Who's the side for you right now, Tuesday? Just ask.
Last night it was Detroit because the Tampa stuff just doesn't feel repeatable, right? Yeah. I mean, look, so these
Philly,
teams played early.
You want to talk about Philly? Ooh. What are we talking about?
You'll probably never see anything like it again. I don't know. Maybe you haven't. I don't know history enough. 10-1.
Wow.
10-1. 5 seed, round 1 exit. That was bad. That was real bad.
History bad.
I think the tough thing, maybe the toughest part of it, coming out of it, is bad vibes around Jalen. And that isn't what you want. No. You can move a lot of things around if you're the Eagles, but we can't get into a trend of every time they pay a quarterback, they need to get rid of a quarterback. Like, that can't be what we start to set up here. No. Now, if they want to bring back Carson Wentz, I mean...
You're advocating that?
I don't mean, he looked good, didn't he? In week 18, 3 total tuds? All right. So what was that? So that was a whole long con. That was a long game. So he played the long game on me.
I had it sitting here. I was ready to go. I mean, I have my Canada hat on because I got all these hockey plays, but we stayed on the football long.
So give me the hockey picks.
Well, it was all about the Canadian teams tonight. It was all about the Canadian teams. Live
Why?
Ottawa. Because live Ottawa dog. Let me see here. Hold on. I got them right here.
Hold on.
We got the live Ottawa dog. We got Winnipeg in regulation against the Islanders, playing the best hockey in the league with Hellebuck. They've allowed 2 goals or less in 19 out of their last 20. Islanders team total under. Edmonton.
I'll give you NHL plays on the other side. I'm breaking tendency. NHL picks on the other side.
Quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices. We're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I don't care if they win because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
San Francisco minus 120 to win the NFC Championship. It's the Cowboys with the second best number. The Eagles at 7-1.
What the hell's the difference between the 6 and the 7 seed? I need my guys healthy here to make a playoff push. They took the bye week and still won the football game. You want to talk about 2 franchises going in the wrong direction? The Eagles. Ridiculous what they did this week.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
A lot of fun to do because you could kind of, place a season-long bet all at once and just wait it out. I've always found that interesting. But New York is one state where it's a little bit unclear.
You cannot bet on basically anything that requires a vote. So you're talking about an MVP award, Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, anything where people at the end of the year have to vote.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
And I tell you what, there's 1,000,001 coaching vacancies right now. Brady Cannon is a candidate for the Vegas Raider job. Like there's so many jobs available right now. NFL teams are coming to the grid for our talent. So there's that many head coaching spots available right now. I'm going to submit my resume.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
All right, we're closing out Game Time Decisions. You know what? Pure vibes hockey picks. Shall we? I mean, why not? The rest of the college picks that haven't started yet, what are they? Hold on. Arkansas, 3.5, and DeJuan Harris, 8+ points. So if you're looking for that. Hockey vibes. I just went through this with Sharapan. Over 6.5. I know it's -160. Oh, let's see if we can find a cheaper number on that. But there's 7s at other spots. You'll pay the 160 there. Can we get a cheaper 6.5 somewhere? Let's get an all total. Why not? -155. All right, so we'll do the hockey. We're going to take the under, Calgary and Coyotes. We've heard Tom Vecchio. I feel like he was mentioning some good goaltending there. Jumps out as an under. Sharks, Hawks is my favorite bet that I feel now because Chicago's a favorite. No Bedard. You got to think to yourself, what's going on? San Jose's terrible. There's got to be goals, 5.5. Isles, taking a chance on New York, +160 on the road at Winnipeg. I know Consig said it's all about the Canadian teams. We'll see if that holds true. Ottawa right now tied up with Colorado. We're going to play Dallas at -130 at home against the LA Kings. That is the least pure research I promise to ever give you on picks to close out this show, but that's where I feel the value is. We just get involved on the ice here. Can we do that? Can we get 5 hockey picks? Let's re-rack them. Dallas moneyline -130, Isles moneyline +160, over Sharks Blackhawks 5.5, under Coyotes Flames 6.5, over 6.5 goals. Edmonton Toronto will pay the 155 just to make sure that the 4-3 is cash as opposed to a push. There we go. And then there's some live action out there right now. Keep tabs on Twitter at @TheKevinWalsh. I'm going to look for some live juice in the NBA tonight. I think we could find some opportunities between the Sixers and the Nuggets, as well as Suns, Kings, and Clippers, Thunder. Sacramento, 4.5-point dog, big time total, 245. Clips, catch, lay 6.5. That total at 238. I'm Kevin Walsh. I'll see you on Thursday right back here, Game Time Decisions.